Hello, this is George, and welcome to my introductory video of TS-ParamScapeRank 2.0. This version will replace my original version, and this version is like a quantum leap. And believe me when I say it's a quantum leap beyond the original ParamScapeRank. ParamScapeRank was originally designed as an afterthought. After I had designed TS-ParamScape 3D, and if you're not familiar with that, this is what 3D does. You can create three-dimensional contour charts when you're comparing different parameters against each other. Let me see if I've got one up for you. Here's an example of my 3D ParamScape 3D. This is using two variables averaged or meaned across multiple parameters selection, multiple parameter ranges, I should say. But this was going to be my selling, my magnum opus when it came to optimization. Pardon me. When it came to optimization analysis. It's always hard to, when you optimize a trading system, to determine what is the most optimal parameters or what are the most robust parameters. So I designed this, and this uses the human eye to help determine, and this is ParamScape 3D, to determine robust parameter sets. So whilst I was doing that, I was thinking, well, the human eye can make mistakes. So I wanted a scientific approach to help determine parameter robustness, or to be able to say, okay, I have no idea what the parameters should be. What should the parameters be that I optimize across? So I came up with ParamScapeRank. But again, it was kind of clunky. It really didn't do much. It kind of told you a little bit of information about the correlation between results and each parameter. So let's go back and make sure that let's jump into ParamScapeRank. And I'm going to step you through the workflow for this. I think by doing so, you'll see the improvements, the considerable amount of improvements, and also in the UI, the user interface. I've got a trading system. Let's go ahead and kill 3D because we don't need that. We don't need that any longer either. So let's close that down. I came across a trading system. It was published many years ago. I think it was the TradeStation. It was TradeStation Academy or TradeStation. Let me get the name of it. It was the Omega Research System Trading and Development Club. System Trading and Development Club, STAD, S-T-A-D for short. So I came across various systems in that course. And this was back in the mid to late 90s when Omega Research owned TradeStation. It was trying to teach people how to program in easy language. And it did a really good job. The code that is presented in the club is pretty well written. There's some mistakes, of course, some improvements. But I took one of the systems, and I'll show it to you. And I improved it before I present. I changed it considerably, actually. The core calculations are the same, but the way it trades is slightly different. So let me show you the code I've got here. I've got this system, and I said it's based on this, and it gives you the information, who to call or whatever. These numbers are no longer valid. I mean, these numbers are what, nearly 30 years old. These phone numbers, but the ideas are still pretty well viable for today's markets. And this system was based on a exponential moving average of momentum times volume. The author thought introducing volume into the mix would create a nice synergy. And when I looked at the equation, I said, well, I wonder if volume is really doing that much to the bottom line. So what I did, I went ahead and it came with an indicator, and then I created another indicator that didn't use volume. So the indicators are basically, if you use volume or if you don't use volume, they're basically the same. They cross the zero line maybe a day before or a day later than each other, but mostly they're pretty much the same. This one did not cross. This is the one with the volume, and this is the one without the volume. So there's differences. You know, one trades more and more than the other based on the parameters you select. But as you can see, the indicators are very similar. But I have to admit, the volume did add a little bit of a twist to it. And I'm not saying that the volume is the answer. It's something that's well worth looking into. The one thing I did notice when I was looking at the strategy was there were a lot of parameters or inputs. We can ignore the close. That's the price. Just ignore that. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters. And I decided, well, let's test this on the crude oil. But I didn't know what parameters you use for crude oil. I'm not familiar with this system. So I said, well, I probably should optimize all 5 parameters. And you're thinking, well, George, that's curve fitting. Well, for the purpose of this analysis, we want to create a somewhat large search space so that my software, ParamScapeRank 2.0, the best version I've created, I'm planning on updating all my software. I've just updated the TS Portfolio Merge into a Pro version, and you can purchase that later. And also anybody who's purchased my TS Portfolio Merge will get that upgrade free to the Pro, which is a benefit of being the first 100 to buy that product. But so I said, okay, if we optimize 5 parameters, I'm going to exceed TradeStation's reporting capabilities, because TradeStation can only report 8,000 optimizations. I don't know why, but it only saves 8,000 into your display, into that report. And 8,000, you'd say, well, that's pretty good, George. It should cover most of everything without curve fitting. Well, we're not curve fitting here. We're just trying to find the impact of each one of these parameters upon the results. So when you exceed 8,000, you've got to use a function that I created. And of course, if you purchase ParamScape 2.0, you'll get this function. And the code that you have to hook into that function. And what a hook is, it's a little bit additional code to interface into what I need to be done. And so the first part of this code is called the hook, and it's an array. And basically, I'm storing the parameters, the inputs. I call them parameters here. I'm storing the inputs into an array, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you know, there's 5 inputs. And basically, I'm just giving them the same name. So I'm going to go ahead, and then when I'm done with that, I call my calc performance metrics. And I pass it the parameters array. This is not important for you to fully understand what I'm doing. And then I give it the string of where to locate the file that I want it to output to. And the reason I'm doing this is because I know with 5 parameters, I'm going to easily exceed 8,000 iterations. And you have to pass a dollar value, and I'm using $100,000. And I'm doing that because I've created a few different objective functions. You know, TradeStation, if you look at their optimization report, there's a lot of different objective functions. There's net profit, there's max drawdown, TS index, win-loss ratio, average trade, average win, all that other stuff, which is great. But I wanted to, I couldn't replicate all those. It was impossible. But I did want to incorporate like the Sharpe ratio and things like that. And when you do that, you need to incorporate a dollar value. So in this case, we'll pass it $100,000. So let's go ahead and set this thing up in crude oil. I went ahead and did it in crude oil. Now what I've done also, let's pull this to the side. I've reserved 3 years. I've reserved 3 years of out-of-sample data, and I did that on the most latest data. So if we go to data and edit the data window, edit symbol, you'll notice I'm only going through 7/01/2023. Today's date is 7/01/2026, and I'll explain why I'm doing that in just a few moments. So I'm going back, let's go back 20 years. So when I bring this up to date, I'll have to go back 23. So we're going to go back 20 years. I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to do the optimization. And before I do that, I got to delete my file to make sure it's not in there, because it will just append to it, the file I'm writing to. So I'm going to go ahead and studies, edit strategies. Let's go ahead and do some optimizations. Let's go from momentum length. Let's go from 1 to, let's go to 25. We don't need to go 1. I think it's too short. Let's go 3. The average length, that's the exponential moving average length. Let's go from 6 to 28 by 2. I think 2 would be fine. That's exponential moving average. The average true range, that's utilized to determine a breakout from the prior day's close. So let's do 1 to 25 by 13, 7, 8, 15. Let's do that by 2 as well. We'll go 26, so it'll fall evenly on it. The ATR percent is a percentage of the average true range as an offset to buy or sell short from the prior bar's close. And let's go from 0.15, 15%. Let's go to 50%. And let's go 25, 30. That'd be 50. Let's go a little bit smaller increments. Let's go 0.05. That might be too. The gradient might be too high there. Setup length. That's how many days is the signal valid. So we want to go probably from 3 to 6 on that. Just something small. By 1. Let's see how many optimizations that comes up with. That's 114,000 for this test. That's way too many. I do want to be high, but I don't want to be 114,000. So let's go back and let's play around with some of this stuff to try to bring that down. ATR len, we don't need to go 26. Let's optimize that from 1 to 20. I think that'd be fine. And then let's go ahead and reduce this, optimize that, and we don't need to go by 0.05. Let's go by 0.1, and then we'll go 55. Let's see what that does. Okay, that dropped it down to 55,000. Okay, 55,000. You're saying that's a lot. Well, it is, and it's going to take a few moments to run. So I'm going to go ahead and optimize that. And remember, we're outputting this into a text file or CSV file, because TradeStation cannot facilitate 55,200 runs in its performance report. It will only show the best 8,000, and we don't want the best 8,000. We want the entire search space, because we want our software to analyze the entire search space, not just the good stuff. Now, could you get away with just using 8,000 out of this 55,200? You may be able to. I can't say that you wouldn't, but it's better to cover into the entire search space if you can. And in this case, we can. It's no big deal. It won't take any longer to write that output to a file. And we are using daily bars, so this should go relatively quick, probably at 10, 12 minutes. So let's get it started, and let's see how long it's going to take. Right now, it's still rising. 5. It should rise for a moment before it starts coming down. So I'll probably say 7 to 8 minutes based on this. This isn't rising very quickly. 3 seconds. It's starting to drop now. So 5 minutes and 22 seconds, and I'll be right back. Well, that's running. We're about 25% done. Let's discuss a little bit about the code. This could be a learning video as well as a demonstration video. I'm going to pull the code back over here to you. Again, this first part is my hook into creating the output from each optimization, so I can read it into my ParamScape 2.0. The system, again, is based off the exponential moving average of the volume times the momentum, based on the momentum length and the average length. We have an ATR, average true range. I have an average true range displaced. I have a bull setup and I have a bear setup. A bull setup is any time that weighted moving average of volume and momentum crosses above zero. That means, hey, get ready to buy. When it crosses below zero, get ready to sell short. If I do have a bull setup, my long entry price is going to be the close of when it crossed. Same thing for this bear setup. I got a market position variable, so we can index into it. As you know, MP is very famous. Just a side mark, never make a function called MP. I've been working with a client who is working with a product, and the person who created the product created a function called MP, and it does not behave like a bar, what I call a bar variable or bar array. Many people use MP to store the market position. So don't use a function. Don't create a function called MP, just to be on the safe side. Use a different, like mark post as your function, or mark MP func. You know, just, it's because what you're going to do is, if you import that function into your ecosystem, all your MPs are going to become function calls, and they're going to be overwritten. So don't do it. What I've done is I'm using my bar sense function, which I've discussed on my website. If the bull setup has occurred within the setup len, could be 3, 4, 5, 6 days, then I want to buy next bar at my long, it's not called long entry price, it should be the long trigger price. And we stored that when we had the cross, plus the ATR percent times ATR. This is a volatility breakout based off of the close price when we did have the cross above or below zero. And also I've got this, if we're within that window, I've got like a, you know, if within the first 2 or 3, 4 days of buying, and I do go ahead and buy it, I'm going to go ahead and sell short, or get out of this trade at the low of the current bar minus ATR percent times ATR stop. And that is that's like an initial protective stop. Now, if you're long and you have a bear setup, you get out immediately. Okay. If you're long and you have a bear setup, you get out immediately. You sell at the market. If this is the longer term exit technology. There was weaknesses in this code, and I fixed that, eliminated that weakness. I'm not going to show that to you. But there is a weakness here that this code by itself, it doesn't have a true disaster stop or profit objective. In the write-up with the system, they did include a protective stop as an add-in strategy. So I would suggest doing that with this system, because what happens is you can get into a trade and you don't get the indicator to say, hey, I'm short, but a bull indicator has not, you know, been shown, and that's what happens up here. The bull setup takes a while because we're using exponential moving average. A bull setup could take several days to occur, and you could endure a lot of pressure during that waiting period. And you're sitting there waiting for that bull setup to occur to get out of the trade. So I would definitely, with this system, add a trade management component to it. But for our purposes, what we're going to do right now is we're just doing an optimization of those 5 parameters to get us into a smaller search space. So we're at 55,000 iterations. So we need to say, okay, well, I'm just out there investigating every possible stone. I'm uncovering every stone to see what's underneath it, to see if there's any correlation with these stones. So that's what we're doing right now, and that's the whole purpose of this analysis. Let's see how much longer we've got with the optimization. We have, well, depends on what, my CPU was flying there for a while, and something's come in and slowed it down a little bit. So we still got several minutes to go through, and I won't let you have to. I will not bore you with waiting. But the numbers are looking pretty good thus far. We got $284,000, and this is on that 20 years of crude oil data going to the July of 2023, which was 3 years ago. And again, I'm reserving 3 years of out of sample, and I did that because I want to demonstrate a little bit of an upgrade to my TS system checker as well. So I'll be back with you when this is completed. When you purchase TS-ParamScape Suite, because you'll get the 3D version, you'll get the 3D, which I've not upgraded. It's pretty powerful as it is. The interface is pretty clean, but you'll get the upgraded ParamScapeRank, and you get the manual with it, of course. And the manual is very detailed oriented. It should answer any possible question. Of course, you can always email me at george.p.pruitt@gmail.com. But the manual, it goes over. I can't imagine a question that you might have that wouldn't be covered in these 80 pages, you know, and I give you all kinds of cool stuff. And really what I've tried to do is I don't want you to have to read this manual. I want you to use it as reference, of course. So when we get back to TS-ParamScape, you'll notice I put a lot of tooltips in the calculations. So you can basically sit there and say, okay, what does this mean? And just click on it, it tells you. And so you don't have to go searching through this volume, this tomb. But I wanted to cover all the bases, any questions, and everything should be answered. But in worst case scenario, just email me, and I'll be more than glad to email you the answer to the best of my ability. And you're going to probably notice that I've changed the way things look with my software. I've got this blue kind of user interface. And why I did that was because I'm using Codex now. Now Codex, with the power of being a programmer for 30-something years, and especially a specified niche such as TradeStation, Easy Language, or Python, or trading, it's very powerful. The synergy is very powerful. So instead of me having to try to figure out a good-looking UI, user interface, I let Codex develop that. Plus the math behind this, the RF importance, which stands for random forest importance. It would have taken me probably a week just to figure out how to calculate that or how to program that. With Codex and very specific prompting, I've been able to do that in a very short period of time. I've spent 2 months developing or updating all my software. And that's the benefit when you buy my software of becoming a founding member of my software, the first 100, because you get free upgrades. And I'm always upgrading. I love learning about how to demonstrate robustness or correlation or visualization, things like that. So, that's what I'm saying. Come grow with me. And that's the benefit of, like I said, being the first 100 purchasers of my software. And I like being a software engineer. I think I was born to be a software engineer. As you know, I was a hedge fund manager for 31 years, worked with Futures Truth Company. My first love has always been computers and programming. Because of a paid internship, I've learned about futures. Because of success of trading algorithms, I stayed in the futures market for 31 years. I straddled futures and computer programming for 31 years, had a lot of success, had a lot of failure, met a lot of interesting people, saw a lot of different algorithms. And so you would think that I would still love trading. And I do. I like to watch trading. I like to help traders. But I'm not a trader at heart. wasn't ever able to understand the attraction, other than making money, of course. I mean, that's very attractive, but the attraction of trying to beat the market. But I tried very, very hard to do that, but it wasn't as attractive as the programming aspect of it. And I've been a programmer since I was 12 years old. So that was the reason I have kind of shifted, after we dissolved Futures Truth Company, more or less. Lundy Hill still runs a little portion of Futures Truth. That I went this route, went back to my roots with computer science. So, and this is and with Codex now, it's just phenomenal. I'm no longer having to sit there and worry about the nuts and bolts. I worry about the big picture, and I let Codex handle the small picture. Let's see how much more time we got here. We're getting close. We have to be 55 seconds. So that was my spiel as to why I am doing what I'm doing now. A lot of people said, George, why didn't you go out and join a different hedge fund or start your own hedge fund and things like that? And I do work with commercial interests in that space still. But not as much as I did, and I by no means do I want to have to deal with all the things associated with managing other people's money, the compliance and all that other stuff. You can't be a small CTA any longer. You have to be a large CTA to be able to afford it. And it would be a great time to be a CTA with the way the markets are moving, gold and silver and crude and all that stuff. You could be making a fortune right now. And I guarantee you there are a ton of CTAs. Finally, they went through a lot of ups and downs. And when the pandemic broke out, if they were able to have, assets under management, they made a fortune and are probably still making a fortune today. Okay, we're done now. And we can look at the strategy performance report. And you will notice that I've got the top 8,000. And if you don't set this up properly, you will not get 8,000. You have to go into the settings. I don't need this because I've got it output, and I'll show that to you. You have to go to, I think it's right. Let's see here. You got to go to File, and let's go to Preferences. It's Desktop, View, General. There's a number 8,000. Let's see where it's at. It's actually, you have to right-click the chart, go to Settings, and then go to Preferences. I don't know why this is different than the other preferences, but it is. I guess this is strategy centric. So you click on Strategy, and you tell it to keep the highest 8,000 tests. And you could do lowest, but who would want lowest? And right now we've got the fitness function being all net profit. You can change it to anything you want. But I keep it at all net profit, and I do 8,000, and that's the maximum. If you don't do 9,000, it'll still just do 8,000. So that's how you can save the top 8,000. And again, if you open it up, it'll save the top 8,000. Numbers weren't looking too bad. I mean, we got some good numbers here. 245,000 with a $24,000 drawdown. This is in crude, and this is before the Gulf War, so take these numbers as a grain of salt. TS index, the highest we got up was 781, which is pretty darn good. Average trade was 1,218. We had 220 trades. Again, I'm reserving 3 years of out-of-sample data. So if you go to that folder that I had created, it will show you where the output is. Hold on one second. I forgot to mention, and this is important, you've got to not use genetic optimization. You've got to use the exhaustive search to go through all those 55,000 different iterations. And so the file will be located in where we told it, TS optimization text files. And here's the file right now. It's called VWN, which is volume weighted moving average system 4.txt. 4, don't worry about the 4. I just put that in there to differentiate 1, 2, 3, which I've done in prior analysis. So let's jump over to the TS-ParamScape and let's load that file up. Whoop, sorry about that. Let's open up that big, huge file. It's 55,000 lines, and fortunately, Python has no problem consuming large amounts of data. On the sidebar, that took almost 18 minutes to run. So let's go ahead and open it up. Okay, and this is where you have to do a little extra work when you're exporting more than 8,000 lines of optimizations. TradeStation, when I output that information via that function, it doesn't know the name of the parameters. And so you want to give the parameters a good name. And the way to do that is pull up the source code for the strategy, which is right here. We're going to shrink that down so we can see it really good. And param1, that's not going to be a good way to do it. We're going to have to shrink this down even further. You can copy and paste it if you like, or you can just type it. And param1 is going to be momlin. So let's call it momlin. Param2 is going to be avglin, avglin. Well, all we're doing is we're giving the names, so these parameters, when we analyze them, they'll have self-explained names. We're going to have ATR-lin. Now you don't have to worry about doing this if you're using the TradeStation output. If you have sub 8,000 or less, you don't have to worry about doing this step here. So we need the last two variable names, and they are ATR% and setup. I think it's setup. Let's see. Setup lin. And it tells you, it says, okay, parameter 1 had 23 unique values. Parameter 2 had 12. Parameter 3 had 10. Parameter 4 had 5. And parameter 5 had 4. And it's good just to kind of look at these to see, okay, yeah, I did optimize from, from 3 to whatever, and these are all lengths, integers, and this is a fractional number or rational number, not rational. I think it is rational. That might be the term. Yeah, irrational numbers are ones like 3.33333. So these are rational numbers or fractional numbers. So we're going to go ahead and load the full report, 55,000 lines. So let's see how long this thing takes. So it'll give you a little heads up that says, hey, please wait, computing rankings for net profit. This little thumb is supposed to go back and forth, but at this point, the tool is so good that I'm not worried about little things like this not working. So it's loading the 55,000 iterations to kind of give a grasp of what these parameters mean to the overall, the overall picture. When you load it, and it did it, it's going to give you a little message that says, before running analysis or suggest ranges, please review the parameters list and mark any whole number inputs as integer based only. Now that's important because when I do a suggestion for ranges to further, either reduce the search space or expand possibly the search space because we didn't hit the, we're up against the side of a wall on a 3D chart, it needs to know if it needs to step in an integer base, like 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. If it's a rational number, such as the percentage, it could be 0.25 and be steps in 0.05. So all we got to do is say momentum length is an integer, average len is an integer, setup len is an integer, ATR% is not an integer, so we just leave it alone. The ATR-len is an integer, so we say mark integer based only. Now we're going to do real quick an analysis of these inputs. This is like getting your credit card, not credit card, your report card. So on these parameters and how impactful they are. Right off the bat, it ranks, before we do the analysis, it ranks the most impactful parameters first. So the most impactful parameter was the momentum calculation length. The second was the average length, the exponential moving average length of the momentum. The setup len was 3, the ATR percent was 4, and the ATR len is small. And this is the random forest importance. And if you click on the random forest, it tells you this is a machine learning score that asks, when many parameters are considered together, how much did this one help explain the objective? Higher means the parameter mattered more to the model. Okay, that's kind of there's a term for that. I can't think of it right now. I'll come up in a second. That's a nonlinear analysis, whereas the absolute correlation is a linear analysis. So the absolute correlation is a simple one parameter at a time relationship score. Higher means the objective tended to move more consistently as this parameter changed. It ignores direction to right, so rising and falling relationships both count. So the old school way was to use absolute correlation or Pearson correlation to determine the impact of the parameter on the overall score. In this case, the net profit. That's what we're looking for. Our objective is net profit. So we have this thing called plateau. How wide the strong performance area appears to be. Higher means the parameter may have a broader forgiving range instead of only one narrow best value. In other words, the parameters form a plateau instead of a peak. If you can visualize the 3D curve that I showed earlier, we're not sitting on a peak. With this parameter is not very peaky. It has peaks, but there does exist or occur a broad plateau. So this is 0.182. I'd like to see that number higher, but it's as high as it is what it is. Let's look at the knee. And you're saying, what is the knee? Well, the knee looks for a sharp bend in performance as the parameter changes. Higher means there may be a point where returns start changing quickly or flattening out. This is a high knee. So basically 0.728, that's basically, if you visualize a three-dimensional chart, contour chart, you've got the ridge rising or the plateau rising and then a deep drop off. I mean, it gets to a point where the parameters, as they increase or decrease, creates less and less performance, and it's dramatic. So the knee is this is a very important number, and all these knee values are pretty high. I'm surprised the ATR percent does, because it's less impactful, it does create a nicer plateau than, say, the momentum length. We have the RF, which is the rainforest converted from a 0 to 1 scale. It's a 1. Correlation is a 1, so the composite is a 1. These other ones, since they're not as highly impactful, they have a rating from 0 to 1, and they're either going to be 0 or they're going to be somewhere in between the two. So this is a quick report card right here. So to reiterate, the momentum length was the most impactful parameter. Changing it changed the overall outcome the most. So let's do an analysis. Now this is where the manual's not really important, because everything is given to you. It's shown to you. Our objective function is net profit. The purpose, this report grades each input from 1 to 10 based on how useful it appears to be for the selected objective. Higher grades are better candidates for further investigation. In other words, you may want to drill down further. Decimal capable inputs may be tested at finer fractional resolutions. Integer only inputs should be refined with whole number steps, narrowed ranges, shifted ranges, or held static when already at step 1. When you're stepping on an integer from 1 at the highest resolution, which is 1, you really can't do anything about that. It has to stay 1. But you can shift the search space. You can start at a lower number to a higher number, or from or you can go inside that range. So the momentum length, you got 10 out of 10. This is the report card score for how much attention this input deserves in the next optimization pass. Once you do this first optimization, that doesn't mean you're done. What this tool is, we're in the ballpark. We did a ballpark view. We're in a helicopter way above the ballpark. Now we got to zero in and try to get onto one of the bases or onto the field. And that's what this does. We're working our way down. This is what the purpose of this tool is. So what's the recommendation? It's high priority. And it says keep investigating this input, but resolution is already at the finest whole number level, 1. The next pass should narrow the range, shift the range, or decide whether to hold this parameter static. The knee score suggests there may be a bend point worth locating more precisely, meaning that you don't want to be near that knee point. You want to locate it so you won't be near it. The result notes, strong integer only candidate, this input matters, but it's already at step 1, so improve the pass by shifting blah, blah, blah. Possible bend point, performance may change quickly around part of this range, so a focus pass can help locate that turn. Finest integer resolution. This input is marked integer, so it's already at 1. So the most important improvement must come from narrowing or shifting or freezing the range rather than using smaller decimal steps. Okay, it's kind of redundant. It keeps telling you that over and over again, but that's okay. Evidence, the composite is 1, the RF is 1, the correlation is 1, plateau is 0.18, needs 0.73. This is type integer. It's tested on a minimum step of 1. Now the average lin, ABG lin, was 3 out of 10. This is the report card, blah, blah, blah. The recommendation, you could probably keep this thing constant, maybe at 4 or 5. Consider holding this input static near a sensible value so you can spin more combinations on stronger inputs, meaning use less compute, okay? Reduce the number of iterations. Integer only override, evidence composite, setup lin, grade 2 out of 10. This is the report card, blah, blah, blah. It's a static candidate. Setup lin really didn't matter. You could probably set this at 3, 4, or 5. It's not going to make an impactful, it's not going to be, you're not going to have an impact by varying that variable or input. Okay, let's see, ATR percent, 1 out of 10, and then the ATR lin is 1 out of 10. These are not important parameters. They're important because they're needed, but varying them to determine the best robust output is not super necessary. Now, I'm going to show you, that's the report card. Now we're going to go and we're going to do suggest ranges. So we'll click right there, suggest ranges, and then it's going to tell you the full suggestion is to go 52,650 combinations, okay? So what that does, it tells you, well, if you really want to uncover the entire search space or expand the search space, and this expanded it, you would really want to start mom lin at 9 and go to 18 by 1. Start the average lin from 1 to 25 by 2. Setup lin, start at 4 and go to 8 by 1. ATR percent, start at 0.2, go to 0.6 in increments of 0.5. The ATR lin, 5, 21, and 2. But you're saying, George, these 3 didn't really matter. And that's true, it didn't. So what it's doing is it doesn't know at this moment that you need to reduce that search space. It's just saying, hey, you know, I'm going to give you a suggestion of where to search or further search. And you could do this. You could use these exact parameters. But I want to get under that 8,000. I want to get under that 8,000 so I can and come up with, I'm in the ballpark, we know that. And we know which parameters should be more or less static or somewhat static. And we know which parameters need to be elastic. And the most elastic ones are the mom lin and the average lin. So I've created this other process to reduce while maintaining as much search space as possible. I want to go ahead and make max combos 8,000, and there's that 8,000 magic number again, and that's because of TradeStation. So I'm going to reduce search space. This focus search is at or below 8,000 combinations. For the next optimization pass, you may comment out the calc performance metrics, call in the strategy, and import the standard TradeStation optimization report instead if you prefer. Keep the calc performance metrics export enabled when you want the complete full search space file or when the optimization will exceed the TradeStation export limit. So now let's look at this. We've reduced the search space. So now it's suggesting momlen should be from 9 to 18 by 1. Average len should start at 1 and go to 25 by 2. Setup len should go from 4 to 8 by 1. The ATR percent should go from 0.2 to 0.6 by 0.2. And the ATR len should go from 5 to 21 by 8. And the way this thing is designed, it's designed so that the begin, the high and the low and the steps will cover the entire low range and the high range. So if we go from 5, we add 8, that's 13. Add 8, that's 21. So let's do that. So we're going to pull this to the side. I'm going to pull this to the side. I'm going to go back to my TradeStation. I'm going to go Studies, Edit Strategies. And we're going to optimize from 9 to 18. 9 to 18. Because it sensed anything outside this range was not viable, or wasn't beneficial, I should say. It's non-monotonic at this point, meaning that higher values doesn't mean better numbers and lower values doesn't mean better numbers. There's a sweet spot in there. It's monotonic. And so we can click on that. And let me tell you what monotonic means. A direction estimate for the currently loaded optimization file and tested range. Increasing means higher values tended to help inside this file. Decreasing means lower values tended to help. Flat means no clear change. Non-monotonic means there was no simple higher is better or lower is better pattern. Trend can change after a reduced search because the app is then measuring a narrower local neighborhood. So let's go ahead and just continue with our optimization values. 9 to 18, average len is, it says, let's see, let's optimize that. We went from 6 to 28. The computer's saying 1 to 25, but I think there is an element, I'll investigate it. We want to go by 2 on this one. It's because it was decreasing, it will take you to the lowest number. I'm going to do a fine tune on that so that won't take you to 1. We want the setup len to be 4 to 8 by 1. Setup len 4 to 8 by 1. Optimize 4 to 8 by 1. ATR percent is 2 to 6 by 2. 0.2. Let's optimize to point. What was it? 0.6 by 0.2. Hit OK, and then we get the last one, which is the ATR len. And that is 5 to 21 by 8. 5 to 21. I hit 4. I'm sorry. No, I did hit 5 by 8. Okay, and that should come out to be 5850 combinations. And it didn't, so let's make sure we did the right thing. Momlen is 9 to 18 by 1. Average len is 1 to 25 by 2. ATR len did not take. Sorry about that. We're going to optimize ATR len from 5 to 21 by 8, right? Yeah. If those numbers don't match, then you've done something wrong. So we hit OK. And now we got 3510, which I still have something wrong because it should be 5850. Let's double check this once again. Sorry about that. It's 9 to 18 by 1, 1 to 25 by 2, 4 to 8. Now, wait a minute. The setup len is this. Okay. What happens is this ranking gets out of order from what, based on impact, from what's in the actual indicator. The actual strategy. So let's go over this real quick. 9 to 18 by 1. The average len is 1 to 25 by 2. The ATR len is 5 to 21 by 8. The ATR percent is 2.2 to 0.6 by 0.2, and the ATR lin is 5 to 21 by 8. And here's the problem. The setup lin is 4 to 8 by 1. Sorry about that. It takes a little bit of time to get used to this. And we want to go by 1. Okay, and there it is. We finally got it, 5850. Just got to make sure the inputs, you're aligning the inputs with the proper ranges that the computer suggests. So let's go ahead and optimize this. And this should be quick because we've reduced it from 55,000 to 5850. Think about it. The more you reduce the iterations, the more you're honing into the best parameter sets. So what I do is I do once, twice, 3 times. So once this completes, I'll save this as a text file and I'll re-import it into my ParamScape 2.0. Okay, so let's look at the optimization report. Getting some very good numbers here. 306. Let's see what the lowest, 29. Let's look at the TS index. 1401. That's pretty darn good. So our numbers are actually, you know, are they getting better? They may not be getting better, but they're getting us more close to a neighborhood. So I'm going to save this. We're going to call this 5. It's text. Now this is a TradeStation report, and that's the beauty of ParamScape 2.0, Rank 2.0, is it can read both. So we're going to go back to TS-ParamScape. I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to open a TSSV file. I'm going to go to 5. I'm going to hit open. It's computing. And let's see if everything stayed pretty much the same. Now, as you notice, it auto-loaded the names of the parameters, and that's because I used the TradeStation output itself. I don't have to go in there and name these myself. So the mom lin stayed number 1. The average lin stayed number 2. I can't remember what these were. These are a little different, a little bit out of order, but pretty much the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a suggest ranges, but before we do that, we have to set this as integer based, mark integer based only, mark integer based only, mark integer based only, mark integer based only, and we're going to do suggest ranges. Forward suggestion is still 57,000. In this, we're starting to see a change in the shape of the optimization curves. So we're going to do a suggest. And we're going to reduce search space. Okay. And we're down to 3,672. And this refined it even further. We're only going from 11 to 18 now by 1. We're going from 3 to 19 by 1. The ATR percent 1 to 1.1 by 0.5. So we're feathering our way down the ladder of parameters. So at this point, you could go back and do the optimization and feed it again, and you're going to get even closer and closer to the parameter set that you want. But the important thing is from the ParamScape ranking report, and we'll do the analysis, and it will basically go over the same information about the momentum lin and everything else that we discussed. But it looks like we are working our way, we're winnowing our way down the parameter sets, and we're coming up with some very interesting numbers here. The average trade is 1421. Let's go ahead and let's just see what the TS index. Wow, 1401, that's pretty good. The drawdown steep though. So what we're going to do now is let's just pick one with the best profit, 306,000. 13 is the momentum length, 5 is the momentum average length. The ATR length is 5. The ATR percent is 40% of the range to buy or sell from the previous day's close. And we're going to give it 5 days to set up. Performance graphs looks pretty darn good. Now, we know that we reserved 2 years of out of sample data. So let's go ahead and take a look at what happens with this. Well, you know what? I don't want that parameter set because that's cherry picking. Let's not cherry pick. Let's pick us a good drawdown number. I kind of like 18, 7, and 13. And it looks like 18, it's higher here based off of that. And these numbers haven't changed very much. These numbers changed a little bit. There's like a sore thumb right there. And the 0.4 is really good. So let's go ahead and pick one of these. Let's go with this one. No, I don't like that one. I want to go with this one. I like 13. It's good. 13, 11, and 13. Very tight. 0.6. Yeah, let's go with that one. It's a good looking equity curve. A little bit of a drawdown just recently. So let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and save this. Well, before we do that, let's change the data. Not edit strategies, edit data. Edit symbol. And we're going to go to today. And we're going to go back 23 years. Interesting. Wow. Here's that equity, here's that drawdown we saw. And it really hasn't done that much. This parameter set hasn't done that much. But we've had this nice move up. So let's go ahead and launch System Checker, TS System Checker. If I can find it. There it is. I've got to first save this as XML file. XML arena, and I want to put it into, let's just put in optimization text files because we just want to see this. This is ParamScape demo 2.0 demo. I'm going to save it and we're going to load it. There it is right there. Should be done. Before we do that, let's just make sure it is done. Let's TradeStation. TradeStation does that. I don't know why when you pull this down it hides that. Does all charts do that? Some go behind it. I don't understand. But it does. So it's done. So let's go ahead and open it. And we released it in 2307/01. Plot baseline projection. Initially it started off on track, went to a flat period, but we're back above track. So it's doing kind of what it's expected, except there is some deviation here. And this is because of the Iran war right here. So let's go ahead and pull that to the side. Let's plot all equity. Here's the equity curve with that big move up, and that had to be 08. And then the actual beginning, this is the equity curve here. And I've got an improved version of this as well. This text is down here, so it doesn't get involved with the chart. Let's look at the Monte Carlo analysis. We did 1,000 simulations. There's been 24 real-time trades or post-production trades. The Monte Carlo confidence is moderate. It's not enough trades. The numbers look pretty good. Here's the actual. So we're below the median on the drawdown distribution. Forward equity distribution, actual forward price equity is still within the central or stronger part of the simulated range. Worst drawdown distribution, actual forward period drawdown is still within the better part of the simulated range. So everything looks like, hey, it's still a viable system. Let's plot the forward envelope. Yeah, look at that. I mean, this thing probably should have gone up into this region here. But a lot of the Monte Carlo went all the way down to here. So we're right there. I mean, we're right on that Monte Carlo prediction. So what are we saying here? What's our report card? It says, this is a big window here. It says the return attainment is 1.120, normalized RMSE, and as you know, when you purchase this, you'll get all this information. The overall assessment is it's degraded. The risk assessment is controlled. Incubation readiness score is 4 out of 8. Assessment summary, degraded overall, but the risk is controlled. That's meaning that it's not made a lot of money on multiple trades. It's made a lot of money on a single trade. And I give you all the results right here in this window here. It's made $40,000 on this last open trade. So that's where all the money's been made. It's had some losing months, small losing months. It's been mixed. It's been a mixed bag, but it's had one big winning trade. One big winning trade can make you think the system is not performing as expected. So in the incubation mode, if you had incubated this for 3 years, you would say, okay, well, you know what? I think I need to incubate it some more because I'm 4 out of 8. Had that been a 5 out of 8 or a 6 out of 8, I would say stick with it. And this is just my analysis with TS System Checker. We could do a full Monte Carlo analysis. Let's say we need, from the performance numbers, we need $50,000 to trade this one crude. I hate to say that in today's dollars. We're going to do 1,000 simulation. We're going to recalculate the Monte Carlo. We're going to open the risk and scaling analysis. The risk of ruin at 50,000 is pretty high, 21%. 1 out of 5, you're going to be ruined. If you increase that to 62.5 thousand, all the way up to 100,000, 8%, it drops 4%. The medium drawdown is 18%. Your annual return is 6%. Worst case, first tile, that means you would only make this amount of money, worst case. And the efficiency ratio, return to drawdown at 17 is not too bad. The probability of ending up above 0 is always almost 100% in this case. The new thing I've created is, and it's not in this one. I will in the latest version of TS System Checker, I will forecast out what it will do in the next year, which is quite interesting. And I'll show that in a separate video. But the whole purpose of this video was ParamScape 2.0 and how it can analyze and give you a report card on the parameters, and it helps you refine those parameters and winnow those down to get into a nice plateau area. And what I would do at this point, I would probably go ahead and plot the 8,000 or 5,000 or whatever I just did with TS-ParamScape 3D. Now that I've scientifically analyzed the parameters, now I'm going to use the human eye to analyze the parameters and see if I can't zero down on a good parameter set for this system. Now you're saying, hey George, that's a lot of work. Well, it is a lot of work, but you need to come up with a good robust parameter set that will carry you forward at least for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. And developing these trading systems, you can come up with the logic, you can find the logic online, but the key is tuning those systems. And you need the right tool. Back in the day, we just said, oh, that looks good, throw those parameters on there. Oh, that looks good, let's throw those parameters on there. We need a more empirical approach to determining good, robust parameters. And with the combination of TS-ParamScape 3D and TS-ParamScapeRank, you have those tools at your disposal now. I know this was a long video. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you have any questions, email me at george.p.pruitt@gmail.com.